Hello, in today's video we'll be going over different input types that you can do in Visual DB. So let's get right into it. So to make a form like this, we have previous videos going over many features in Visual DB, specifically with forms. So if you'd like to look into that, we have that available. The first thing that I'm going to go over is multi-line text boxes. In some cases, we would like to have more than one line to put notes down or something like that. So I'm going to add a field here, and I have a notes field. And I'm going to put that in, and let's put that at the bottom. Let's say, for example, that this one line isn't enough for the notes that you want to put in. So like this is my notes, and if I press enter, I can't get any more lines. So how we would change this is we would go to settings, turn on design mode, click our notes, and we'll see here input settings. If we click on this, we have a bunch of different options. We have what we have right now, which is text box, which will be one line of input. We have a multi-line text box, which is what we want for our notes. And we also have radio buttons. I'll get to that later. But first, we're going to put in our multi-line text box. And now, as you can see, we have many more lines to add in things. So we can put notes, we can enter, and we have a bunch of different lines. We can also increase the size of our multi-line if we want to display more notes or whatever we may put here. So that's very useful. The next thing I'm going to go over is drop-down text boxes like this. So if you have an enumerated list of different things you want, you can go into design mode. And here we got this by putting in available values. We have a video on available values in forms, so you can review that. Yeah, we can get it from our database, or we can offer existing values, or we can specify manually. So an example we might have is for states. So something like this, we might edit our available values, and we might specify manually. And let's put in a couple states here. So maybe PA, we might have New York, and I pressed enter there, and now I have two specified values. And if I get out of my design mode and I click this, you can see I have PA and NY. From here, we also have a couple more things that we need to go over. So in my design mode, I'm going to add another field, and I'm going to add my employment type. Now for my employment type example, there are different types of employees, right? There might be part-time, there might be full-time, there might be interns, right? And we want an option to check which one they are. What we're going to do is we're going to specify manually some available values like we did before. So let's put in full-time, part-time, and then intern. Now, if we press OK to this, we'll see we have the drop-down menu at the moment. But let's say we didn't want that. What we would do before is we had the drop-down. Let's try radio buttons now. And now we'll see it changes to this. So now we can pick between full-time, part-time, and intern, and it's very apparent which one we would choose. So that is our radio buttons. When we have a limited amount of options that we can pick from, we can just choose these. The next thing that I want to go over is whenever you have Boolean values, in other words, values that are true or false. In this case, we have a field called US citizen. And first, when it shows up, it will be as a checkbox. So if we click this, it'll be true or false. But we can change the way this looks to more similar to how this is, where we can make this checkbox into a radio button where it'll say yes or no. So then if we go out of design mode, we can either press yes or no. Just understand on the background, the way employment type is stored with these radio buttons and this over here are stored slightly differently. This is with true or false values. This is with values that are enumerated by the user. So overall, we have a bunch of different input type options. First, we have our normal text that we can type out. Second, we have our multi-line, where if you want to put notes, like this, and then you want to put your notes down here. We have a bunch of different lines and notes where we can put stuff, and we can change the size of those. Thirdly, we have our dropdown where we can enumerate the values we want to put in, and we did that with our state field. And then we have our employment type where it isn't necessarily a yes or no question, but there's still a limited amount of answers that you can give to it. We have our employment type as an example of that. And then finally, we have our US citizen, which is an example of Boolean types, or in other words, a yes or no. And let me just change that back to a checkbox to see that we have that unique type of entry where we can check it on or check it off. So that is our input types that we can have in Visual DB. Thank you for listening.